Just minutes into February 10, 2026, Washington awakens to a political thunderclap. Republicans loyal to President Donald J. Trump are forging ahead with subtle but firm blocks on his emergency declarations and military prerogatives. A fracture exposed in today's whirlwind of Senate activity that demands your immediate attention. Picture Capitol Hill at dusk, urgent huddles in cloakrooms, memos flashing across secure networks, the sting of a profanity-punctuated presidential call to Senator Susan Collins over a war powers resolution gaining improbable bipartisan traction. This isn't yesterday's news, it's today's pivot, directly linked to Trump's latest masterstroke, the national emergency invoking seizure of Venezuelan oil reserves to hammer socialist chaos and boost American dominance. Now met with party jitters about extended timelines and NATO flashpoints from Greenland acquisition talk, Denmark's territory invoking Article 5's unbreakable vow. Layer in the fresh urgency of transparency holdups, promised disclosures mired in Inspector General reviews, spurring cross-party probes, and the hook sharpens. A second-term powerhouse, re-elected on vows of no new wars and unyielding security, tests the limits of Congress's resolve. For viewers engaged tonight, the relevance screams. Recent market dips on energy volatility, polls showing voter wariness of overreach, Trump's defiant rallies reframing checks as deep state sabotage. His instinct-driven triumphs have rewritten rules before, but this GOP hesitation signals a high-wire act. Preserve institutional balance or fuel the unstoppable agenda crushing adversaries. Whispers of upcoming floor fights and deadline pressures make this the story dominating feeds right now, blending spectacle with substance in a way that could cement or constrain Trump's legacy. We've got the insider timeline, key voices, and what-ifs unfolding. Stay right here as we connect the dots on this electrifying internal showdown. Turning to the core of today's developments, the headline crystallizes around a bipartisan Senate resolution under the War Powers Act, advanced with unexpected Republican support, aimed at requiring congressional approval before any military engagement tied to recent presidential statements on Greenland. Senator Christopher Murphy, the Connecticut Democrat and ranking member on the Foreign Relations Committee, with a career built on arms control advocacy dating back to his House days in 2007, first amplified the alarm publicly last week, underscoring how suggestions of force against Danish-held territory could trigger NATO's collective defense mechanism, placing U.S. troops in hypothetical opposition to European partners who've stood with America since 1949. This wasn't idle speculation. It stemmed from the president's long-standing interest in Greenland's resources, voiced as early as 2019 and revived amid Arctic competition with Russia and China, where ice sheet minerals and strategic positioning offer undeniable leverage for U.S. interests. Yet the optics shifted dramatically when Republicans, including moderates from battleground states, signaled willingness to co-sponsor, viewing it as a prudent check rather than disloyalty. A move that reportedly prompted immediate White House backlash, with accounts of a late-evening call to Maine's senior senator, Susan Collins, a four-term veteran known for her centrist crossings on issues from healthcare to judicial nominees, where tensions boiled over into uncharacteristically blunt language. Collins, who narrowly won re-election in 2020 by threading the Trump needle, has navigated party fractures before, but this instance highlighted a broader unease, the risk of rhetoric escalating into operational plans without legislative input, especially as fiscal year budgets loom and defense allocations face scrutiny. Parallel to this, the president's national emergency proclamation on Venezuelan petroleum infrastructure, issued to counter the Maduro regime's sanctions evasion and empower U.S. firms in hemispheric energy markets, drew immediate congressional letters questioning compliance timelines, with figures like Rhode Island Democrat Sheldon Whitehouse, chairman of the Senate Budget Judiciary Subcommittee since 2019 and a bulldog on financial probes, flagging Inspector General oversight gaps in document production. Whitehouse's involvement lent procedural weight, as his office had previously tangled with executive delays during the first Trump administration on issues like emoluments clauses. These threads intertwined today when committee markups accelerated, atmosphere charged with the low hum of C-SPAN cameras and whispered donor concerns filtering through K Street. Numbers tell part of the story. The Venezuelan assets in play exceed $10 billion in potential value, per energy analysts, with extraction ramps projected over 18 to 24 months, involving firms like Chevron and ExxonMobil. Benefits skewed toward shareholders unless refineries adapt swiftly. Quotes from today's floor exchanges captured the mood, Murphy noting, "No American voted for alliance wars over real estate," while Collins emphasized, "Constitutional comedy requires dialogue, not dictation." Trump's team countered swiftly via surrogates, portraying the push as Democrat-orchestrated sabotage amid stalled GOP priorities like tax cut extensions. The day's pivot came around 4 p.m. ET, when a procedural vote passed 12-10 in subcommittee, including 2 Republicans, sending shockwaves that dominated evening briefings. Behind the scenes, atmosphere thickened with atmosphere reports of White House Chief of Staff strategizing counter-narratives, leveraging social media blasts to rally base support. This escalation fits a pattern where bold executive action, rooted in 1976 National Emergencies Act precedents, meets modern congressional reassertion, particularly as midterm shadows lengthen for vulnerable incumbents. Furthermore, the Greenland dimension added geopolitical gravity. Denmark's foreign minister issued a measured statement today, reaffirming sovereignty, while Pentagon assessments circulated internally highlight dual-use military value without endorsing acquisition. As evening wore on, additional details emerged. The emergency's tie to Treasury sanctions enforcement, where OFAC licenses for asset handling remain pending, fueling delays critics now weaponize. Political observers inside the Beltway describe today's events as a line in the sand, with Republicans privately polling constituents on war aversion, urban-rural divides sharpening the calculus. This main coverage reveals not mere disagreement, but a structural stress test, where today's votes foreshadow floor battles by week's end. To fully appreciate the gravity, we must trace this back through American political precedents, beginning with the War Powers Resolution of 1973, born from Vietnam quagmire trauma, when President Nixon's secret bombings prompted congressional overreach backlash, mandating 48-hour notifications and 60-day withdrawal clocks, tools invoked sporadically since, like Reagan's 1986 Libya strikes or Obama's Libya intervention in 2011, often with partisan splits but rarely intra-party revolt. Trump's first term tested these waters aggressively, declaring 11 emergencies from border wall funding to TikTok threats, upheld in courts despite challenges, setting a bar his second term builds upon, amid heightened China-Russia tensions. Historically, similar GOP checks emerged during Watergate, when Barry Goldwater led a delegation confronting Nixon in 1974, prioritizing institutions over fealty. Reagan faced Iran-Contra probes from his own ranks in 1987, with Senate Intelligence Committee Republicans demanding accountability. Clinton endured impeachment from unified GOP in 1998 over perjury, though emergency powers stayed peripheral. Obama's drone expansions drew hawkish Republican ire via 2014 NDAA amendments tightening authorization, foreshadowing today's dynamic. Trump's unique imprint? A transactional lens on alliances, echoing Wilson-era territorial bids, but amplified by social media velocity, where Greenland floated as absolutely strategic in 2019 tweets, resurfacing amid 2025 Arctic DoD strategies, warning of Russian bases. Key players sharpen the lens. Murphy, 52, Yale law grad turned anti-interventionist post 9/11, chairs Foreign Relations Mideast panel. White House, 70, former Attorney General with Wall Street reform creds from Dodd-Frank era, excels at subpoena chains. Collins, 73, Colby College roots in moderate Maine politics, pivotal in Kavanaugh confirmation survival. On Trump's side, influencers like Senator Lindsey Graham, South Carolina fixture since 2003 and early endorser, publicly defend while privately urging restraint, their bond forged in 2016 primaries. Public perception splits. Trump polls at 52% approval per today's Gallup flash, buoyed by economy but dipping on foreign adventures. Collins hovers at 54% in Maine, vulnerable to MAGA primaries. Relationships crackle. Graham's golf summits with Trump contrast Murphy's cable crossfire appearances. Influences abound. Koch network donors pressing fiscal hawks. evangelical base wary of wars. Big oil lobbying Venezuelan plays. Profiles reveal a chessboard where backgrounds collide. Murphy's finance family versus Trump's real estate empire. Collins's bipartisan brand against White House's progressive prosecutorial zeal. This historical tapestry frames today's unrest as echo of eras when power concentration invited correction, personalities driving the drama toward uncertain resolution. Impacts radiate across political fault lines, with Republicans eyeing 2026 midterms, where 5 Senate seats flip vulnerable. Today's votes risking base alienation as Trump rallies amplify disloyalty narratives, potentially depressing turnout in red strongholds. Economically, Venezuelan emergency promises 500,000 barrels daily uplift by 2028 per EIA models, stabilizing gas at $2.50 gallon benchmarks. But delays spike futures 3% today, hammering refiners while boosting renewables lobbies. Socially, urban millennials poll 62% against new conflicts per Pew yesterday. Rural heartland 48% supportive of strength. Generational rifts widening as Gen Z mobilizes online against imperial overreach. Legally, precedents like Trump v. Hawaii 2018 bolster emergencies, but Young's 2020 border ruling hints vulnerability. Court challenges from ACLU allies loom by March. Internationally, Denmark summons U.S. envoy tomorrow. China smirks at NATO wobbles. Maduro propagandizes Yankee desperation. Analysts observe Republicans threading needle. Party cohesion at 78% unity score per CQ roll call, down from 92% inauguration peak. Public sentiment mixed with 51% approving emergencies per Fox Flash poll. Media landscape polarized as CNN hails guardrails, Fox blasts witch hunt. Recent developments connect. January 28th IG report on first-term delays. February 5th Treasury asset freeze executive order. Fitting trend of executive expansion meeting bicameral pushback. Watch next. February 12 subcommittee hearing with DOD testimony. March 1st floor vote deadline. Unanswered queries on Greenland feasibility studies and Venezuelan ROI audits. In recap, today's GOP moves against Trump's toolkit: war resolution, emergency qualms, disclosure drags, signal institutional pulse check amid visionary pursuits, underscoring democracy's resilient design, where checks preserve bold leadership's edge. As power balances recalibrate, the big picture affirms American governance's endurance, signing off with hope for unity in strength ahead.